Sometimes a game gets released and a few years later it is important or even necessary at times to do an upgrade of the game, whether it is in looks, whether it is in the materials that the game is made of, or for whatever other reason. That is exactly what Fantasy Flight's done with Nexus Ops. Let's unbox it. Fantasy Flight Games has made a tradition for themselves of creating really beautiful games. They are not always fantastic, but they always look amazing. So we are going to unbox now Nexus Ops, which when it came out in 2005, it wasn't really all that good looking. Now I am not going to review the gameplay itself. This is just a review of what the components are like and if they really are worth the amount of money that you pay for your game. So without further ado, let's just get this open, since I'm quite keen to see what's inside and what it looks like. First of all, the standard Fantasy Flight box with a very nice matte lamination to it, a very nice final to it, and a really beautiful illustration. I mean, these creatures look scary as anything, which is very nice. And although the soldiers in here, they look a little bit too much Starship Troopers for my liking, but they're good enough. It does convey the meaning of the battle that you're going to have to fight when you're playing this game. The game plays between 2 and 4 players, and theoretically it's meant to play between 45 and 90 minutes, which probably means it's gonna take a bit longer than that. Here we go. Typical Fantasy Flight Games catalog, beautifully done, handy to have if you have more money to spend. The rules of play surprisingly light. This is very nice. I was expecting to have a lot more rules to it, but this is actually quite light in terms of what it feels like, which is lovely. As usual with Fantasy Flight, absolutely lovely layout, very nice indeed. Whether they read as good as they look, it's still to be seen. Fantasy Flight Games rules are not always the best. In fact, they're hardly ever the best, which is a pity because the games are fairly complex. This one seems quite okay. The layout is very clean, the font is very easy to read, everything seems to be referenced. You have diagrams for what's going on, and there are some battle examples and everything. So promising, looks good enough, but whether they read well enough is a different matter altogether. And obviously until I have delved into it I won't be able to tell you. But in terms of the looks and in terms of the everything else and the quality of the paper, so far, yeah, is what I would be expecting from Fantasy Flight, which is good. These are probably going to be counter cards. Meh, they're alright. They're thick enough, but they are a little bit on the thin side for me. I mean, this is something that the players are going to be using quite a lot, and we have 4 of these, double-sided. One thing I just don't understand, I can understand for a small company, but for somebody like Fantasy Flight, I don't get why these are not produced on the proper board and you make just a small board for each player. It would convey a much more durable experience and a lifespan for the game. So I don't know why they don't do it. It looks beautiful, the whole thing looks absolutely lovely, so no complaints from that point of view, and it's not as if this is going to break in your hands anytime soon, but it could be with being thick, being properly thick. Immediately we get the tiles that are going to become our battlefield, and I can already see that these are lovely. These are very thick, which is again, what you would expect from Fantasy Flight, but most importantly, it's actually what you need. Because otherwise, the game will not last anywhere near as long as it should. And they should. So, I'm not going to go too much into detail as to what the tokens look like and they feel like, but I'm going to take one of these out just to show you how thick they actually are. They are lovely, very nice. They feel okay in the hand. They have a bit of lamination, not as thick as the box, I don't think, or other games I've seen, but they're good enough. They will do. The illustration is a bit busy. Is very, very busy. But then it's trying to portray a vast environment where the battle is taking place. So fine, I can understand that. Nice detail to have the back with some sort of pattern in there instead of just leaving it grey or black or whatever. That is very nice indeed. And we have one of these, two of these, and three with more tokens. And the traditional put up for purchase from Fantasy Flight, which you can use if you need to ask for spare parts or whatever. We have two decks of cards, but we're going to go into them into more detail later. I'm not going to look into this right away because I am very keen in taking a look at what the miniatures that come with this game are like, and you get an absolutely staggering 164 miniatures with it, which is quite amazing. This is where Fantasy Flight always falls flat on its box. This is the divide. It's not bad, it's just cardboard, and it's nice that they put the illustration, the print illustration on it. It's just a bit flat. You know, I wish I could see something else, something a bit more sophisticated, something a bit more attention to detail from that point of view, but they always do exactly the same, so it doesn't come as a surprise. And it's not, again, there's nothing particularly wrong with it, I just think it could be done a bit better. So let's set this aside. My friends, miniatures. Let's get started and see how many are there, what they look like. Oh, by the way, six-sided dice to play with, and usual material, a bit light, that's fine. The dice, what else you want? Dice. Right, let's get started, shall we? I'm going to put this aside a little bit. Let's get started on this. Let's see if all of them are in the box. 1, 2, 90. Okay. 91. 63 and 164 miniatures counted. That's that's a lot of miniatures. Now, let's take a look just for a second at what the quality of the miniatures itself it is. They are plastic, they're not resin, so which is to be expected. There's an awful lot of miniatures and it's just a board game, so that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The quality of the plastic is fairly okay. It's a bit on the flexible side, so you'll have to be very careful. But that's fine. The amount of detail, it's okay actually. It's not too bad. There is a fair amount of detail in terms of the amount of the eyes, the creature, the driver, the wings. It's fine. These are okay. However, these spidery looking things are not okay. In fact, some of them, quite a few of them, I don't know if you will be able to see this against the box, but they don't stand up. Because of the way that they've been packaged, this back leg has been either miscalculated or simply it has been crushed when it was packaged. And I do have a fair few of these that just will not stand up. So I don't know exactly how many, and I will need to recount them, but this is a pity because it's a lovely little miniature. It's nice, but that just lets the whole thing down. It's something that should have been thought of before packaging the whole thing, or even casting the miniature in plastic. These ones are great. These are possibly the best ones, with great amount of detail in the teeth and the eyes. Lovely spikes coming out from everywhere, sharp enough. Very, very nice. It is the standard quality, and I can understand that they need to keep them at this quality in order to keep the price down, otherwise the whole thing would become quite expensive, and this game expensive is not, so we cannot fault them. Design wise, this lets the whole thing down quite badly. It's a pity, but should have been thought about before deciding to cast. When the miniature stands on, it's fine, but when it doesn't, it just doesn't at all, and it looks silly. It's a real shame. But overall, you get a lot of miniatures for the amount of money you pay for this game, and they're not half bad. So I cannot really fault them too much, apart from that design flaw. Sorry, I keep going about it, but it's bad. That's just bad. It's a shame. Everything else, fine. I am happy with. Now remember, there was a few cards. Let's take a look at those cards to finish taking a look at what's in the box of this thing. Right, there are two decks of cards, one bigger than the other. And if we open this, it's nice that they come in their little baggies, so you don't have to. And those miniatures also come in baggies, which is very nice. Let's put this away. Let's put it away. The material of the cards is not particularly bad, but it's good. I mean, it's a bit on the thin side. But again, I can only imagine that they have to compromise a little bit in how thin or thick they are in order to keep the whole price of the thing down. So overall, fine. I am happy. I'm happy to go with it. And the small ones feel a little bit thicker, but not because the cardboard is better, but simply because they're smaller, and that helps them to be thicker. But let's take a proper look, a closer look at what they look like and what the illustrations are like. The small ones are very simple. They just have your victory conditions, or your points, or your secret missions, etc. Now, some of them are double-sided, in the sense that you get information on both sides. The iconography is incredibly simple. It's almost minimalist, you know. You just get a round little number in there with a color that you can see right away. There's no confusion anywhere. Well, I say the iconography, there's no iconography, there are no icons, it's just a number one that you can hold in your hand. And the secret mission card, they do have an illustration in the background, which is some sort of interface looking at a planet, which is quite appropriate. It's very nice, it's lovely to look at. They're okay to hold in the hand. The number one is on the corner, so you can just open them and look at them. They're okay, actually. There's nothing much to be said about these, to be honest with you. They are just little cards with theme for the game. But there's another deck that I'm more interested in because it has more illustrations and a little bit more iconography. So let's take a look at that one. With the big ones, the illustrations look beautiful. They really look beautiful. You have two types of cards, the battle and the deployment. They look lovely. Some of them you have more than one different card of the same stuff, like the critical objective. Some of them, like the radiation cloud, you only have one of them. How they're used in the game, I don't know, but I'm actually quite interested in finding out. I can imagine you're just going to put them down and the effect takes place, and that's probably going to mess up your enemies. That's, I bet, the idea. As usual, illustrations are just lovely. You know, from that point of view, Fantasy Flight Games tends to get it right time after time after time after time, which is great because they're setting a very lovely benchmark for any other company to follow, which is good. So please do keep it up. So overall, do I like this game? Yes, it's fine. I must admit it hasn't wowed me, mainly because I am very disappointed at the problems with the casting of the figurines. In fairness, you hardly can get any better value for money. I mean, I paid for that game about £40, which I bet in the US is retailed at about $40 or $50, which is not bad at all. And if it plays anywhere near as good as it looks, then I am going to be a very happy intergalactic conqueror. It's a pity. These things should be sorted out. They really should. And I don't know if Fantasy Flight is going to be replacing them or what. I will definitely be asking, and it's worth, if you experience this problem, tell them, because they need to know. And I'm sure they will be okay. They're a good company. Yeah, overall, do I regret spending the money on this? No. I really do not regret it. You get a lot for your money. So yeah, I will happily give this 4 stars out of 5 for your enjoyment.